A document just dropped and it's everywhere right now. People swear it's Taylor Swift's tour rider from today's stop. Outrage captions, red circles, breathless threads. But here's the snapback. The extravagant lines read like a grocery list, not a royal banquet. And by 12 seconds, you'll hear the first items that make the scandal wobble. Chocolate milk, grape juice, Tostitos, Twizzlers, 2 tubs of Ben & Jerry's. That's what's in the screenshots racing across your feed, not diamond chandeliers or a gold-plated dressing room. Snacks and sugar that keep a stadium crew awake after 14 hours on their feet. Let's zoom in and slow the doom scroll. Read the words, count the lines, compare them to past writer roundups that were already public last year. The first receipt hits fast. The supposed new demands copy older lists almost item for item. Quick context because this matters. A writer isn't a diva scribble pad. It's a logistics document split in 2 halves, production and hospitality. Production is lights, power, rigging, safety. Hospitality is food, hydration, and simple comfort so the crew can function. When an artist's name is on top, people assume the list is for one person. In reality, those lines feed dozens of people who build a city-sized show every night. Picture the day. Trucks roll in when the city sleeps. Riggers climb steel before sunrise. Video walls, catwalks, lifts, and miles of cable snap into place. Dancers stretch, band techs tune. Local stagehands join the tour team. Everyone in that building is on a clock and needs calories on command. That's why writers are full of boring things, like chips, cheese, and microwave popcorn. They're fuel, not flex. So why is the internet yelling exposed? Because the leak economy rewards outrage over accuracy. Crop a page, slap on a watermark, add a spicy caption like unhinged demands, then let the algorithm out of its cage. By the time it lands in your aunt's stories, the proof is just background texture, and the headline has hardened into "Taylor's out of touch," except the page doesn't say what the caption claims. Let's walk through the viral lines one by one and decode the reality. Chocolate milk? That's recovery sugar plus protein for a drummer or a dancer between numbers. Grape juice, fast carbs for anyone running gear, Tostitos with salsa and shredded cheddar, a quick assembly line snack that doesn't slow load in. Twizzlers, pocket sugar during teardown at 1 a.m., Ben & Jerry's, a morale boost when a crew just crushed a 16-hour day and still has miles to drive. Notice what's missing from the extravagant narrative. No caviar, no rare flowers flown in on ice, no insane temperature rules for a tea kettle, no only white furniture meme bait. It's aggressively normal, and that's the point. Stadium shows run on predictable calories, caffeine, and salt. If your office of 30 can destroy 5 pizzas, imagine the math for a traveling city of more than 200. Here's where receipts really start to bite. Those exact items, down to brand names and order, match writer lists that circulated last year in mainstream roundups. Chocolate milk, Welch's grape juice, Pace mild picante, Kraft shredded cheddar, 3 boxes of mac and cheese, a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi. This isn't new, it's a remix. Someone slapped a "Today" sticker on older lines, and the outrage machine did the rest. Now, we're not saying every writer stays frozen forever. Tours evolve, menus adjust, dietary needs change. But when wording repeats line for line, that repetition is a giant tell. Either the leak copied the old lists, or someone is recycling last year's content to farm followers. Both paths point to the same villain: clout-chasing pages dressed up as whistleblowers. Let's rewind to a verified baseline because context kills nonsense. Years ago, a legit backstage file showed teenage Taylor asking for edamame, bottled water, simple sweets, and boxed mac and cheese. It wasn't indulgent then, and the pattern stayed practical as the stages got bigger. The records we can point to are boring on purpose. They protect crews from last-minute chaos and keep the machine running safely. There's a crew-first angle almost no outrage post mentions. Standardized snacks and drinks aren't about pampering a star. They're about protecting the people who hoist the lights, tape the cables, and push the risers. Lock them in, and you prevent promoters from cutting corners. You make sure runners aren't sprinting across town hunting for weird brand new items during a storm. Consistency is a safety feature, not a celebrity perk. But let's test the leak the way rumor pages never do. Could anything on the page be extravagant under stadium math? Sure, if the quantities were wild, except what you see are single, bottles, a couple pints, maybe a 6-pack. That's not a banquet, that's a snack table. If extravagance were real, you'd expect bulk orders, specialty gear, or rare produce. The screenshots show none of that. They show pantry items. There's another piece of the puzzle: the timeline. The first accounts pushing this new rider claim don't have newsroom track records, public editors, or standards. They're meme pages and gossip aggregators that thrive on speed, not accuracy. Meanwhile, actual outlets that covered rider items last year have not confirmed a brand new document today. In Scandal World, silence from reputable sources is a siren. Proceed with doubt. Let's talk psychology, because this story is as much about you and me as it is about a piece of paper. Outrage is a dopamine button. The headline shouts "demand" and your brain fills in "diva." Then every line feels loaded. Chocolate milk becomes childish. Grape juice becomes bougie. Chips become junk. Ice cream becomes excess. But strip the moral judgments and they're just calories for people working a brutal, beautiful job. If you want a real scandal, here it is. The way outrage pages use artists as fuel while hiding the labor that makes shows possible. They sell you a fantasy of excess while the actual line items are there to prevent burnout, dehydration, and injuries. They tilt you against the wrong target so you share, fume, and forget. It's a rigged game, and recycled leaks are the cheapest tokens on the table. Let's pull the curtain on how a rider is actually built. Weeks before a show, a promoter rep and the tour manager swap documents. Venue specs, union rules, power loads, catering hours. Hospitality pages are tuned to the clock, breakfast for load-in, lunch for sound check, dinner for pre-show, and snacks for the graveyard shift while trucks reload the world into trailers. Here's something rumor pages skip: buyouts. If a venue can't source items at scale, the promoter issues a cash or credit buyout so local runners can hit a grocery store fast. That's why riders list common brands. It's not status, it's a map anyone can follow in any city. You've heard the legend about a certain band banning brown candies. The truth wasn't diva behavior, it was a safety test. If the venue missed the candy line, they probably missed the rigging specs too. Hidden silly items are telltales for life or death details. Logistics nerds use gimmicks to keep people alive. When a rider reads simple, it's intentional. Simple means scalable. It lets a 19-year-old local hand execute the list without a binder of boutique instructions. That's the opposite of extravagance. That's standardized compassion for the lowest rung on the ladder. Quantity math seals it. The page shows single bottles and bags because kitchens translate categories into cases. They feed crews in waves, not in Instagram stills. Outrage posts freeze the nouns and forget the catering team does the scaling. Now the digital wildfire? Outrage creators front-load exposed and hope you never zoom in. That's why we led with the text itself. The fastest antidote to rage is a close-up on the lines everyone else keeps blurring. Mid-video reveal, because you deserve one. We compared phrasing from today's screenshots to last year's public lists. The overlaps are almost eerie. Same brands, same order, sometimes the same typos. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when old info gets dressed up as new to hijack the feed. And once the loop starts, everyone is too busy dunking to ask if the exclusive is actually exclusive. This is where the hero-villain framing snaps into focus. Hero: the crews, the caterers, the local stagehands, and yes, the headliner whose name keeps those people employed and fed. Villain: the accounts that farm anger with recycled documents and call it journalism. One side is building an overnight city and tearing it down without breaking bones. The other is building a digital bonfire and tossing truth on it for kindling. Let's go inside the tunnel for a minute. It's 5 a.m. A coffee urn hisses. Someone is labeling coolers. A runner is tracking down extra gaffer's tape. A rigger is double-checking a harness. The last thing anyone needs is a moving target for food and drink. That's why riders repeat. Not to flex, to remove variables. To make sure that by the time doors open, nobody passes out on a catwalk because the snack table went minimalist to save face online. And yes, this artist has a track record of treating crews well. Bonuses: donations to food banks in tour cities. Thank yous that made news for being unusually generous. That doesn't turn a person into a saint. It just makes the "she asked for chips" cancel her narrative feel unserious. If you want to judge the whole picture. It's bigger than a jar of salsa. Let's also talk about how leaks really work when they're real. The strongest ones come with clear sourcing, multiple outlets, or legal filings that carry penalties for lying. They show headers, dates, and context that can be verified. They don't arrive through a carousel of anonymous watermarks and vanish the second you ask for the original file. Today's rider looks a lot like that second thing. Loud on arrival, quiet under questions. So, what should we do with a story like this? Keep the hook, but turn the lens. Use the moment to explain how a tour actually runs. Demystify the paper everyone's gawking at. Put the chips in their place, literally, between a stack of XLR cables and a bucket of zip ties. Show the scale that every snack sits inside. Make it impossible to pretend a grocery list is a smoking gun. If the leak gets verified by a credible outlet tomorrow, we'll read the new lines and talk about what changed. If it doesn't, this episode becomes a case study in how internet folklore mutates. Either way, you get value, receipts, process, and a reality check that saves you from donating your outrage to a stranger's follower count. Back to the hook one last time, because repetition sticks harder than rage. Chocolate milk, grape juice, Tostitos, Twizzlers, Ben & Jerry's. 5 items that sound like a sleepover became the centerpiece of a scandal. If that doesn't make you question who benefits from the noise, nothing will. Here's the final word. The writer wasn't the villain tonight. The recycling machine was. It aimed to embarrass a headliner and rile up a fandom by waving a pantry list in your face. Instead, it exposed how lazy fake leaks have become and how easy it is to hijack a timeline with a familiar font and a red circle. We'll keep checking sources, reading the fine print, and showing you the work behind the spectacle. If a real document lands, we'll be the first to walk you line by line. Until then, protect your attention, hype the people who keep the lights on, and enjoy the show knowing snacks are part of the safety plan, not some cartoon villain's feast. In this story, the hero is the crew that keeps a stadium dream on time, and the star who signs the checks. The villain is the outrage factory that thinks your clicks are their private bank account. Villain aimed to destroy hero, but ultimately destroyed themselves.